Hey everybody, it's the Modern Geek, also known as Vamp Mario, and we are back with another 40k painting video. I promised you guys I would do a second video of the wonderful Lions Guards. We built the model last night, and as I promised, we're going to be taking a look at painting it tonight. So I actually got it primed. Thought maybe we might be able to get into some of the orcs. Maybe we might continue doing the jet, but we're going to really focus on the big man himself, Lion Johnson. Just a gorgeous model. The newest Dark Angels model that's come out. I've been just, loving the preview for this. And just everything they've talked about with the model. Like when I saw on the community page, I was like, I have to go for it. It's so detailed and so nice, and I definitely want to go crazy painting this guy. So I'm gonna go real traditional with this paint, but I hope you guys join us for it. I want to thank Undiscovered Realms for getting me one of these guys. So I was so happy that they were able to hook us up and get this to us so we could do all the fun painting and reviewing of this beautiful model. And again, this is the Lion Guard box, so it does come with some Space Marines as well, which is like his personal guard. I didn't build those. I was saying it last night that they will be doing a single model of this. Just this model, but I bought the guard because it's unique. It comes with art prints. It's a different kit. So now when they do the codex and stuff to support it, you'll be able to get that, because of course him as a unit is the model you see here with his two, I guess acolytes or priests that are there, which is insane. But, yeah, and just to give a size comparison, as I say, I don't think I have, like, if we do an orc 32 millimeter unit next to him, you can just see how much more towering he is as a giant force on the battlefield. So he is a big dude. And that was the Gothraka, if you did not know who that was model wise. But yeah, I'm gonna go, or try to go, as traditional on this as I can. I'm gonna take some liberties. I'm gonna kind of do my own thing on some stuff, but I do want to do it justice, do it right. And I think without further ado, let us get into the paint. And of course, as always, if you guys have comments, questions, or anything to share, please don't hesitate to throw it up in the chat. We love it when you guys comment and let us know how you feel. And like I said, I'm so happy that we were able to do an extra video, because like I said, I started the other video last time late, so I do apologize for that. So I figured it would be only fitting to give you guys a second video on Friday, which we don't normally do Fridays. Going forward, and hopefully after this weekend, we'll be launching our newer Patreon, and my goal is to actually use Fridays for a Patreon only show that we'll be doing. So I'm going to use some Skeleton Horde to start doing his cape, which is a lighter. Actually, let me look at something really quick. Because is it the inside of his cape? Hold on. I'm wasting that paint. I hate when I do that. Alright, let me just get this off, because I need to look at... I'm so glad I looked before I leaked. Alright. Because it's the inside of the cape that is... It's inside of the cape that is the... Alright, so it's very green. Okay, so all of his, like, cloth bits. His armor is darker. Alright, so... I mean, I don't have the colors. hold on, guys. I'm trying to work out what color. I feel like this is more of like a forest green, but let's see what it's too dark. Yeah, we want like that quality green. That's the green we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to push. I'm going to push this with a lot of water. Yeah, if I do the warp lightning very, very light, that will achieve the green that we're looking for the back of his cape. All right. You know, and I always say this to people that are trying to do, if you're trying to be very, very specific to what you see on the box, always remember that they use spray painting for the paint samples at GW. So if you're not spray painting your model, it can be somewhat hard to get the smooth transitions that you see there. Not to say you can't build it up, but if you're doing paint brushing like I am, you're always going to have a degree of paint stroke. So it's not going to look as... But what I've learned with the contrast is if you treat it a little bit more like ink, where you sort of you just guide it with the brush and let it drip like this, you actually can get nice even tones, and you can cut down the look of paint lines. So it's a really cool little trick that I've learned with contrast paints. It does mean that your first coat goes on a little lighter, but then what I usually do is that I'll build up my darks and my bigger tones. And usually that's why for the color, I could just use the color itself to build it back. But I'm glad that I looked before I leaped, because he does have aspects of his basically anywhere where he's cloth, he's gonna have more of that kind of green, because his armor, you know, being Dark Angels, his armor is more like on the black side. So I'm just gonna, while we're at it, take a look at anything that's like a cloth element. Just so I have that blocked out, because when I go to do the armor plating, I'm going to have to really darken that. So I have an idea for how I'm going to do that, because unfortunately, the color I would have liked to have used, I don't have access to. I'm actually going to have to figure out, I think either a bunch of the original contrast paints that I had dried out, or they're just not available at the current moment. And it sucks, because I had some darker tones. Now, it could also be that I'm confusing the original wave of contrast paints with the newer ones. Because the newer ones that came out, the newer formulated ones and the ones with the additional colors, probably have the color I was supposed to use on him. So I'm going to do a little color mixing, and you guys will see. I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting for the armor to see if I can kind of whip up something that gives us that, that aesthetic. But Warp Lightning Green definitely works for the green areas. So the Warp Lightning Green is actually not a bad look for him. But yeah, basically what I'm doing now is just looking for anything that is cloth elements on him. Because anything that's cloth related is supposed to be that greenish color. Now for the inside, I think we're following that suit everywhere. So even like basically the inner side of him, anything that's outward cloth is all the like foresty Warp Lightning Green. So it's only the inside that's the this guy's epic. I love the way this model looks. I'm gonna have so much fun painting this. It's gonna be like super duper dope. So as always, guys, let me know what you're working on. Are you excited by some of the newer models that they're releasing? Were you like me and were waiting for models like Lion Johnson? Like, is this one of the models you were really, really jonesing for and like said, man, I really want that? Are you like me, also excited for obviously 10th edition and the new Tyranids? I know new new Space Marine units. I would think that everybody is pretty stoked for that, but let me know what you think. Your comments are always appreciated. As always, I like to remind people that when we are doing one of these videos, because and I do apologize, I keep saying it. You would think that I would have fixed it by now because I keep telling you that it's not working. But I keep getting home kind of on the later side, so I don't really have... no. Alright, so what just happened is going to be a setback. But that's okay. But yeah, I like to... I always like to find out what you guys are working on. What's on your painting table at home. What factions do you like to paint or play? And I always ask the painting question because a lot of people, myself included, I say it all the time. A lot of people, sometimes your only exposure to this game was actually painting it rather than playing it. A lot of people for a lot of these hobby games might have started out as painters, painting the units, and then eventually, they got enough time one day and started to learn how to play. So it's a very common thing that I hear from a lot of people, that they were, in fact, painters first, players second. Is there anybody that's already gotten a chance to play this guy on the field? He's been out for a little bit. Not a little bit, but... Is there anybody that's running him in their current list? From what I know from the reviews of him, I believe he's... pretty busted. And pretty good. But I'd love to hear anyone else's thoughts on the model or the play if you've had the ability to get them on the table. Or like I said, if you have other factions that you like to play, or you have other projects you're working on. I always tell people when we're doing paint videos, If you are even painting something that is non-GW related, I'm still in game to hear it. I still would love to hear it. I hope you guys are enjoying the top-down angle. I think it's actually making... I mean, it's definitely making my painting easier because I think I can get to the angles and hold the model the way I want. But at the same time, my hope is that you guys are seeing more of the model during the videos. So I'm hoping and praying that that's true. But I could be wrong. And as I've been saying for a few of our videos, please do not be shy if you're new to the chat and new to the stream. It only takes a minute to say hi, and we could become super duper friends. I'd love to be friends with all of my viewers, and we can actually talk and converse and find out about each other. Mostly, I love to... I say it all the time. I say it on all the streams that we do. One of the biggest and most... the very, very much reason that I do stream a lot and love to stream is really the idea and prospect of helping people. I love being able to answer people's questions. I love giving people advice, like painting advice, things of that nature. So, I say it every stream, and I mean it every stream. Please do not hesitate to throw up a hi or throw up, how's it going? If you're new to the game, new to the hobby, like I always say, do not hesitate to throw a hi in the chat and let's start talking, because I guarantee that if you are new to the hobby and have questions, there are many other people that also have those questions, and you could be doing such an awesome service to those people by helping them out and throwing the question up. So what you guys are seeing me do now is, so remember what I was saying before, when I did the warp lightning, I did it kind of very lightly. This is part of why I do it really lightly, because now I can go back in and start to build out the shadow areas of the cape. Now, another technique that you should always get in the habit of doing as well is making a mark, or making whenever you're going to make the first paint mark with a color, try to do that paint mark on a paper towel or on a separate place, because that paint mark is always going to be a very dark paint mark. So whenever you load up a paintbrush, the first mark you make is always going to be the darkest. So remember when you're using your paints that if you want something to be very dark, one of the easiest ways to achieve that is make it the first thing you hit the paint on. Now, what I'm starting to do is create some natural folds in here, where I'm also, you'll notice, pushing that color, because it is a fairly bright green. The only problem with using warp lightning rather than like a forest green, which is what I think would have probably been a better choice, is that warp lightning is just very harsh. It's a very harsh green. So that's why I'm trying to bring or create this sort of flowing mechanic where I'm trying to build up all the natural wrinkles in the fabric. And making it a little bit more deliberate so that it looks like there's some shadowing or shading that's happening here on the cape. I've done this technique on a lot of models that I paint that have capes or flowing capes. So that we're creating some light, some play on the cape. Which is pretty cool. So we're getting there. Just gonna make this a little bit more connected so it looks a little bit more like a natural shadow. There we go. Yeah, that's looking cool. So again, all I'm doing is just leaning into the areas that have folds so that we can create a really nice natural look. There's a few more cloth areas that we're going to have to paint, but I always say this with contrast paints, you really have to act fast because you want to do everything in like one section, because you don't want to have, if you keep going over and over the paints, it's just going to keep darkening and darkening the color. So you really want to be strategic, and you want to make sure that you're going over things in the best way possible so that you can make all the tones even. I think all of this is gold. I'm going to look at it again, but so I'm being really, really specific with how I do this so that we're creating a very specific line. You know, and what I would recommend to anybody new to painting, if you do not, you know, if you haven't really like taken maybe like a painting or drawing class, or you don't have that background, you know, I would just pull up, you know, what we call reference. You know, reference is always like a really good tool. So whenever an artist is trying to create something or do something, you know, I do it a lot. This kind of stuff, I painted so many cloaks and things that I have an idea in my head of like how I want this to look. That I'm just kind of winging it a little bit, but it definitely will help you to feel like you're controlling it a little bit better if you have like a reference. So you might want to like legitimately go find like a cape or something. I mean, obviously the easiest reference is like using the box. but that reference of like how cloth acts and behaves can be very, very helpful. And now also, as just a reminder to anybody out there, if you feel like what you're doing is not working, like if I start to look at this and I go, you know what, I actually don't feel like this is hitting the way it should, or it doesn't look right, you can always, you know, people forget that you can just, in the case of the contrast paints, just go back over it with white, and you can totally change that. But you guys will kind of see what I'm going to do in a minute. Which, a lot of what I'm doing now is I'm blending kind of two techniques, you know? So, some of what I'm doing is very, like, traditional painting. So, what do I mean by traditional painting? What I mean is, when GW first started out and we had just our traditional GW paints, a lot of some of what I'm doing right now is like the way you would have painted with traditional GW paints back in the day. So everything I'm doing right now is like very traditional GW, like where I'm darkening the bottom of it, like, so we have that like really defined darker tone going down. What we would then do is start to add in highlights. So basically just painting the color in and then building on top of that color. I just broke my own rule about the first, because that doesn't make sense now. It shouldn't be that dark. Yeah, so as we discussed, the idea of, I'm going to just use water. So this is a cool thing about contrast, which is almost like a watercolor trick for people that know or have maybe dabbled in watercolor. You can use water, like if you have pooling that went badly, you can use like water to bring that back out. You just have to do it quickly before it like dries. That's the only caveat to that. So what you guys are seeing me do now is I'm just being really deliberate with my really like darker areas. I like to do capes like this. Not everybody else likes to do it this way. And then we're going to do highlights to bring out the areas that are still left. But I'm going to have to do... So what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to transition the color a little bit. So we're getting that darker tint going up and under the shadows, but we're also getting that you know, down to a lighter tint, because that's going to start to help differentiate the cape. So you're going to start to see, because right now what I'm fighting against is, because that first initial area that I did was a little splotchy, he looks like he's got like a stained cape, and we don't want him to look that way. We want it to look very pristine. So what I'm doing is I'm just building. I'm building his cape back up. So what it's all I'm doing right now is I'm making it so it looks less splotchy. And then, like I said, we're going to do a highlight. So let's get our white. Actually, there we go. So we're going to get our white. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm just going to layer it. With this, so I took some of the Cortex white and I mixed it in with the Warp Lightning. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a base coat that we're going to just run down, and what you guys are going to start to see, and I hope you start to see, is that what this is going to do is it's going to unify the green. So that when we were talking about the pooling issue where like all the green looked uneven, this is gonna like lighten that green. So you can see it already has settled down all that splotching, because now it's just becoming a solid color, because since we added the Cortex white to it, it has more of a pigment now. So it's not transparent like the contrast paint is, because it actually has some white in it. This is a trick that I started to learn how to do with the contrast paints, and it's a cool trick because you can mix colors into it. But what I'm going to do now is just base coat this with that, and then what you will inevitably see is the areas that we left like exposed are going to look lighter than the areas that are darker. But it's going to be a nice even green, and then we're going to come back and do little highlights that are going to like pop all those areas, but it's going to really bring him together so that he's very even toned. And like I said, this was an amazingly cool trick that I really liked. I like super loved this trick. It was it just evens it out. It makes everything so nice and so simple. And you can see now it looks like I didn't splotch paint him anymore. Because it just bases down everything. Now, there are still some areas where we have some opportunity because it still is doing that. Now, you may have to re-whiten those, but it's a lot better. And then what's going to happen is, once I have that all in place, like I said, we'll actually do some highlights on some areas. But you can see how it's just toning that all down. because when you do white priming, I always say that white priming is one of the hardest primes to do, because what's effectively happening is that you're seeing all of the blemishes from all over the model, because there's so many like ridges, whereas when you prime black is always better, because black, you can black, it'll sit in the shadows, so it won't look as crazy. And then what we're gonna do is, I'll show you guys. So now I'm creating the slightly lighter tone. So I'm just kind of pushing the light envelope, or building some light areas. And again, it's very, very subtle color shifts, because I don't want to go like super, I don't want to make it like a super duper edge highlight. I want to make it a very subtle highlight. So I'm just pushing. And we don't want to do it everywhere. We just want to do it. We just want to do it on key areas. So we're suggesting some light. You can see just how nice and subtle it is. And then you can go in and you can start building back up those dark areas, and it looks so nice. So again, we're not going to go crazy. We're just going to build a little bit of it back. You never thought you'd spend this much time on a cloak, did you? So again, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just going to go in and look at going to look at certain areas, not everywhere, and just, but being very, very specific with how I'm painting it. Very specific and very controlled. there we go. So you guys can see, I wanted to finish this because this cape is epic, bro. Like, his cape on the back, I love doing capes like this. Because again, it's just creating a gradient. I may do black. I may do some null oil on top of this too. I don't know in certain areas, but I don't know. I think that looks pretty damn good. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm happy with the start of that. I might build a little bit onto it. But for right now, I'm really, really liking it. And I already like that he's got like a little bit of a more epic feel to him, you know, just with how we're like approaching the fabrics, which is great. Oh, it's gonna be tricky, and I'll tell you why this is gonna be tricky. There's a lot of details, but he's got a lot of like protruding parts. He's got the little guys, so like I think you guys have heard me say this like quite a few times, and if you're getting bored of hearing me saying it, I apologize. But yeah, I can't do assembly painting. I know other people can do that. I just can't. So I always, you know, for me, I always want to paint the model fully assembled, because I don't know, my brain can process a model that way. I just can't do it the other way. But it does very much make my job like 5 times harder, because then of course I have to paint around things and I have to take a lot of time, whereas if I had done it the more common way that a lot of people do it, I probably would get finished quicker. But you know, then part of me always says, you know, and I'll say it in this case, like, he's not really the type of model you want to rush paint or speed paint. You know, he's gonna be a focal point. He's gonna be probably your general, you know, general or you know, obviously a hero on the battlefield. So assuming you play relatively well with him, he should not be a unit that you just like lose immediately. He should be around for a minute, but you know, obviously if you put him like right at harm's way, that's probably not going to go really well. But you know, to each his own. Everybody's got a different feel. But I would not recommend him as like as someone you don't you know, effectively screen with other units. But all right, I am convinced there's something going on. I really hope that Twitch has not like penalized me in some way or made it so maybe people can't see my channel or something weird, because you know, this is another night where, I mean, we don't normally go live on Fridays, so I might just chalk it up to that. Honestly, this was a little bit of a test to see, you know, would newer viewers come to us on Friday, but because normally we would have done this on a Thursday night video, because Thursday nights is our 40K night. But I don't know. You know, this was, like I said, this was a little bit of a test. Just to kind of see. Um, but I thought we could get a little bit of painting done on him because I know he's going to take me a little while to do. So like to get a little bit more on him, probably a good idea. But again, as I say to everybody always, we do painting usually 3 times a week. Mondays is Marvel Crisis Protocol or indie models. Tuesdays is fantasy AOS models. Wednesdays are going to be our new D&D tabletop art show. So it's going to be creating assets for a lot of the different games that we feature and mention. So whether that's creating portraits and custom artwork for D&D characters, or it's doing maps for campaigns, or creating potentially terrain maps. It could be a lot of different things that we do. But it's going to be like us doing fine art, not fine art, but like digital art and like other mediums than just model painting. And some of those assets will be tied to our Patreon, which I'll be launching this weekend. But yeah, I'm like really intrigued as to what is going on, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Twitch is having like, I don't know, like a drop off in viewers. I don't know. Or maybe there's just so little people streaming like model content that, or there's so few of us streaming. I don't know. Or my biggest fear, which is always like with the current economy situation, is hobby gaming becoming a thing? Oh geez, am I painting? Oh, I can't see what's under there. Is hobby painting becoming something that, or hobby games in general, are they becoming something that most average people like are avoiding because of the climate with like costs and living and other stuff, which is interesting in its own right. But I thought with the pandemic, we hobby gaming kind of got a big nice surge because people kind of found it, and it was a great way to spend time, and it became great way. But there's also other aspects to gaming that have changed. Like, if you are a Magic the Gathering player, that's actually a really good place where the pandemic did not help Magic very well. When I say it didn't help Magic, it's more the fact that it didn't help stores with Magic, because it changed the dynamic by which they it changed the dynamic by which they like had to do games. So it was not not the most it changed like the whole format for them. So now they had to offer like gaming. I want to just try something on one armor plate, and if it doesn't work, we're gonna, I probably should have used this for escape. This was actually closer to the green that they showed. So I actually went with a darker green for that. I went with a darker green. I actually should have did the reverse. I should have used the Warp Lightning. Okay. Well, it should still be okay, but let's just see what this armor panel looks like if I like really go heavy with Null Oil. Let's see. Okay, so it's definitely not going to cut it. Templar black is just going to be black. Let's see something. Let's take a little bit of Templar black. I have to mix it. Let's see. Let's see what happens if I mix this with this. Yeah, that's what I have to do. Okay, so I'll have to mix Templar black with this, because then what I end up with is more of like a black green. So here, we'll do it without all the muddiness, but this is the color I get, yeah. And that's more... Yeah, that's much closer to what we were looking for. And then if I null oil on top of that, that will give us the... that'll give us the black... the more black-green that we were looking for. So we have to mix it a little bit better, but it looks like it's going to be Templar black. Probably a lot more Templar black. So we'll take a large chunk of Templar black, because it really should be more black than it should be green for his armor, because he's Death Angels. So it should be much more leaning on the black side than it should be on the other side. Yeah, that actually is perfect. I mean, it's still applying a little lighter than I would have liked. I know, I don't have the thicking medium, which is what I really need. What if I just go a little heavier with it? Yeah, it's just I'm gonna have to like I'm gonna have to it's just so watery. God damn it. But that's like sort of the right green. It's still a lighter green. Yeah, it's gonna take me a minute. Again, it's just applying it a little too light. But I'm gonna null oil on top of it, so that should solve the problem of like the all that's gonna be gold anyway. So I'm not entirely worried about being as clean. Yeah, all of the armor plating is gonna be that color. Yeah, it's just the nature of contrast that will do that. It'll dry a little lighter than it should. But once it dries, you can just, like I said, keep going back over it to darken it. Doesn't look horrible. It's just lighter. It's just not as dramatic as like theirs is. Which honestly, I'm a fan of not going as dramatic as GW does usually. So I'm not entirely mad at myself for this. I actually like doing this, so going in. I mean, he doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look bad. It's just, like I said, it's just the fact that it's not, just the fact that it's not like super dark, which it's supposed to be a lot darker, that's all. But it doesn't look horrible. He doesn't look like terrible. He actually looks more Death Guard. It actually made it more of a Death Guard green. Now, I'm just curious. Just super curious about something. So it's just going to literally paint it black. Okay. That's what I thought it would do. I'm not against doing that. But now he's like got black armor. So that's not what we want. Pull off some of that black. Sorry guys, I'm doing like a lot of like weird mixing techniques because I'm trying to look at my options of how I can kind of push this color a little bit more and see if I can get it to the point where, now if we do the null oil, do we get a more beneficial? And the answer is yes, we do. Okay. So it looks like null oil is going to be like the saving grace of today. Because the null oil is going to get all the colors and push them the right way. So okay. So the answer to this problem is I need to take null oil and just like basically go back over anything I did with the green, because the minute I do that, you'll have the nice undertone of that green with the shade of the null oil. So that's going to be our way to get him closer to that armor that we want. Okay. Let's make a nice big batch of this stuff. All right. I know that's not what we want. God damn it. Nah. That's not what we wanted at all. Jesus Christ. Alright. And we gotta shift this down to... I have to shift it more to black. In fact, I might go... Alright. I think we're gonna be in trouble with this, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm getting a little bit more sporadic mixing. There we go. Oh, that actually that is it. What I just mixed. Yeah, if we put null oil on top of that. That'll be perfect. Yeah, let's get that. Let's get that on. I'm like, now I'm playing a race game. This music is actually really funny for it, because I have to paint this as quickly as I can, because this is like legit the perfect like match color for what I wanted. So anything that's armor, I got to get it painted, and I got to get it painted like stat, which is bad because, so for instance, that's a great, like there's a little detail on the, I got to be really careful not to cover up little details, with this green because this green's very dark, so I'm going to have to push it all back if I do. And actually, it's funny. This is part of why, you know, I've said a couple of times on the stream, like I don't play, you know, I don't play Space Marines. I'm not like a big Space Marine guy. This is actually what you guys are seeing right now is part of why. I don't like playing Space Marines because even though he is a specialty unit, even though he is not a standard Space Marine, I'm literally, what I get annoyed with GW's model designs for anything that's a Marine is that they're so generic that like it's literally like again, because they're all the same, they're all factions, right? So they're all factions, they're all different Space Marines, they're all different factions that worship or have, you know, different sigils or have different whatever. But from a painting standpoint, when I'm going to paint this, I don't treat it any differently as if I'm painting a Space Marine. So like if I'm painting the regular like vanilla Space Marines, all the other factions of Space Marines will have a similar painting scheme. They're just going to change what color I use. So that's why I can basically do this in my sleep, because I've painted so many other Space Marines for commissions and other stuff that I don't have to really think about certain aspects of what I'm doing, which kind of stinks. You know, definitely, obviously, there's a lot of other details on this model, and I'm going to do other things to flare out and to create different details for him. But and I have to be careful because there are still details that are varying that I have to look at. But for like the quick things that I'm like, all right, this color is going to dry up, I have to like paint. It's very simple. Like I've already done 90% of him in the time that it took me to do this. So it's like, that's why it's frustrating, because I'm like, it's so, in a way they're kind of easy, but then at the same time they're not, because you know, he has other little details. So although I can kind of go into a little bit of an autopilot mode, I do have to still look out for those little details. But and again, guys, I am so curious to know what you're all working on. If you're new to the stream, please don't be shy. Please say hi. Let us know who you are, what's up. I always say it takes a minute to introduce yourself, and then we can literally talk, and I'd love to help. I say it all the time. I say it at every stream. I'm a huge fan of helping new artists, new people that are coming to the hobby. It's part of the reason I started streaming. I really, really want to help people. So if I can, you know, if I can do that for you, please let me. And you know, in general, it's always fun I always say that you guys make the show a lot more entertaining than I do. I just try to keep things moving and give you tidbits or things and try to talk about stuff. But what you guys are doing and the things that you are bringing to the table and potentially working on could be so much more interesting than what I'm doing. You know, especially if you yourself are, you know, maybe you are a commission painter and you're doing some cool commissions, or you know, you're working on, as we've had others working on, a sick custom army, you know. But I say it all the time, we won't know that unless you say hi, tell us who you are, and what's up. Alright, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty stuff. But like I said, I'm just trying to push through and get everything at least that might have this color on it, that color. The nice thing about models like this is since a lot of his other details are like gold and metals, if I do accidentally paint something with, let's say, the wrong color, it's extremely easy to rectify that, because again, the detail color that we're using is going to be metals, it's going to be all that stuff. So we can definitely hide some of those imperfections, because like I said, I'm playing a little bit of a time game now, because I'm trying to get everything colored with this beautiful dark color that I created before it dries, which I should be using a wet palette. So for anyone out there that wants to give me a demerit from a painting standpoint, yes, you are right. The wet palettes are just it takes a minute to set it up. I know it takes like when I say it takes a minute, it literally doesn't take that long to do it. But I'm always in such a rush to set up to do these that I forget a lot. So like when I sit down, I'm like, crap, I didn't set it up, and then so I try to get like into things very quickly, and that is not the best way to do painting, because you're prone to make some mistakes. All right, so that is better. It's still not the way that I want it to be, so we are gonna have to do the null oil to like really darken it, but it's at least toned enough different from the cape that we're getting a similar effect to what the original model's paint scheme was. So I'm still staying in line with being a little bit more traditional with it, which I'm happy about. Oh geez. That I actually did the right thing. I thought I had made a mistake, but yeah, that's like tremendously better. And again, we're gonna see. So just as a reminder, that was with the null oil on it, so we will see that shift and push, and we can just keep shading it down. So that is really good. We did get like a nice tone on that, and we got a nice cape going. But yeah, now I got everything painted that was in that tone. Now I may have to color match it later, which can be a little frustrating, but I'll have to just do my best when it comes time to do it. I will do everything in my power to not have to do it, but I may find myself having to do it, not by choice, but because I just have to. But for a first session, which is pretty good, I'm happy with our outcome. I mean, obviously we just did a lot of blocking right now, but we definitely got a beautiful color match for that. Oh Lord. Alright, so that's Space Wolf Gray. Alright, I have a lot of paints open, which is a bad look. I really shouldn't do that, but I'm like in fast paint mode a little bit. And I'll show you guys why I'm in fast paint mode. It's because I want to see color combinations and if things will work together. So I'm trying to look at how I'm doing grays up against that green. So the Space Wolf is good. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to know if we're in good shape or not. I mean, there's so much of it not painted that it's very hard. Telling you, man, the more white you see, the worse a model looks. You can remove that white. I mean, I think he's starting to look pretty cool, and like definitely all right. Here comes the moment of truth. Ah, there we go. Yeah, the eye does it, man. The minute you start putting like the eye in, you instantly get more recognition on the model. We're gonna have to put a little. I want to put a little like white dot in there, so it looks like it's a little bit more menacing. Oh, they did gold bits, so we'll do the gold bits. I'm just trying to look to see what they did for like the crest and they did for other stuff. But like I said, I'm trying to go pretty on target for what the model is. Let's pop up this new Apothecary White, because now we're doing it like a model that, like I was saying before, like this is like a centerpiece model. He's going to be like a more major model, so shake the paint, baby. Shake the paint. Hopefully that'll be a little bit more robust. I don't know what they did, what they're doing for the middle. Is it just all Apothecary White? Or is it like gold? Oh no, the whole thing is Apothecary White. Okay. So even the middle bit, the sword bit is... I didn't know if they did it in gold. The truth is he just has like a lot of gold on him, so it sort of makes sense that they would do. And I would say that Lion should have like the Retributor gold. So like that's what I think of him as having, like that Retributor gold. That's like the nice shiny, because that's like, so I usually say like, well, if you're on a battlefield, like you're not gonna show up like pristine, but in his lore, he wakes from sleep. He's in like cryo sleep, so he is the one exception to that rule, that he kind of does wake up like ready to start fighting. So for him, that actually is accurate lore. So which I think is like hilarious. Okay, let me grab some of this because I just realized I have to get that green in there before this dries, because I screwed up. Alright, so all of this has to be that green, all the way down to these. Because that's all the armor, which I screwed up. And then all of this has to be, there's got to be a big, giant mess now. Because I have a bunch of wet paint. I'm gonna have to look at this model because I don't know. Yeah, that's not supposed to be. Okay, so all of this has to be the green, but that's not armor pieces. That's something else. Okay. So armor pieces, armor pieces. Oh, I'm glad I caught that. I didn't paint that undercarriage part. Okay, alright, alright. Yeah, that's all cape. I always forget the areas behind. I say it every time, but when you paint mechanics, you have to be really, really careful that you make sure you make them all believable. So you really have to look at your model and be like, all right, where do the mechanics go? Where are all my mechanics happening? Look at your armor pieces, like really follow them on the model, because you may like think, oh, I got that, or oh, I painted that really well, and then what you realize is that you didn't connect all of that modeling, so like you've missed an entire section. And when you're doing what I'm doing, which is like mixing paints, that could be really annoying, because then you have to color match it again, and sometimes, and I've had it happen where I have to like redo the whole model or like repaint all the areas because the color just doesn't match, and I have to like you know, now make all of that work, because I need it all to set and dry, because then we're going to go over it all in the null oil, so we're pushing his armor to a more blackish green than keeping it just green, which it is kind of now. Now, I'm probably going to reuse... Again, No Oil is going to be like the MVP of this model. Because I mean, we're going to bring it back and probably do a lot of these gold elements with it. Because they're going to... that's going to help me bring the detail back in some of these areas. What I'm doing now is like super satisfying, and you will immediately, like, the vibrancy of this model will like shoot through the roof once I get all of that done. Like, you're gonna literally see him and be like, whoa. Like, this is amazing. It's also what I was talking through before, which is, you know, that you're seeing more and more of the model painted. So the more and more the model is painted, the more of it is covered up with paint. You know, that of course is going to make your model look more finished. Like, if you look at that one area that we've done, it looks stellarly cool, and definitely looking like we're following the painting cues, which that's what I'm happy about. You know, like I don't necessarily, I say this a lot, I don't necessarily want to I don't want to necessarily always like emulate the painting scheme 100%. But I am happy when I start to paint and, you know, I'm seeing that I am at least doing the painting scheme, or like picking the colors, or kind of staying in the same color palette. And I'm seeing that impact, you know? It is like extremely helpful. Alright. Sorry guys, whenever I do like gold trim, I always get like really into it, and I'm like very focused on painting it. And I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Like I say, please consider, if you're watching this after we were live, consider following the channel, consider signing up for notifications, so you can be with us live when we do paint, and do a lot of the other things that we're planning on doing. There's so much content that I want to bring to you guys, and you know, I want to get it going, but that support is so monumentally important. The more that you guys support us, the more that you're with us live, more that you come to the streams, we can get to those levels that I want to get to, and you know, just keep growing as a channel and growing as a community. I have a lot of plans. I want to do a lot of cool projects, and you know, I hope you guys will come along with me. And like I said, if anyone can tell me, you know, what's going on out there, you know, especially if you guys like come to the channel and have issues seeing or hearing us, or is it video quality, is it other stuff, let me know. Please whisper me so I can, or just submit feedback. It would be so helpful if you guys could, because I want to do better, and I want to be, you know, the best streamer. Obviously, I want to produce the best content that we can, and if our content is not correct, or if we're having issues with something, or if a setting is causing, you know, I pray to God it's not causing anyone to not be able to experience the stream or not be able to come and see it. But if for somehow or some reason you're able to still know that we're live or get a piece of this, I don't know. You know, please let us know. You know, because I like I always say, I want to keep rocking this and doing it, and you know, in order for us to continue to do the content that I want to do, we just have to really build the channel and get to that level where we can get that support. And as I say all the time, you guys always give us that support, and I do appreciate you for it. You guys are awesome and amazing, and we have like a great community, and we have great people that come and see us. But like I always say, I just hope that for anyone that was a regular or is a regular with us, I just hope everything's okay with you guys, because I know, you know, we usually have a pretty active chatting community, and I always get nervous when I don't see people, and you know, more so I get nervous because I know life is really hard for some folks, and things can become very challenging. I just hope that you guys aren't suffering or going through anything right now that's really bad. And, you know, if there's anything we can do to help you, you know, please don't hesitate to, like, post up and let us know. I know that's a vulnerable place to be, like, to come to a stream and, like, tell us what's going on, especially if it's personal. But, you know, we're here to help. And I've had people in the past open up to me and tell me, like, things that are going on in their lives. But yeah, we're all out there. But I also know this is like convention season, and like people travel and go away, and you know, go on vacation, and so maybe, you know, for some of you out there, maybe you were regulars of our show and you're having a awesome, relaxing trip, you know. And in that case, keep relaxing, you know. But yeah, like I said, I really pray to God and hope that you know, Twitch has not changed something on their site, and I've, you know, because that happens sometimes to creators, like they'll change a parameter of a terms agreement, and I'm in violation or breach of something, and I didn't know that because it's a new rule. So, I don't know. I'm gonna have to redo that. I think I'm gonna do my traditional, like, putting like something in the lion's eyes. I like to do that for insignias and stuff. Now I hope, yeah, I just, I just hope everybody's okay out there. That's all. All right. But I don't know. Sometimes you got to come to the realization that maybe you're not as popular as you thought you were. But yeah, I don't know. That's another thing too. I hope the content we've been putting out and the streams we've been putting out, you guys are still loving it, or liking it. I mean, wouldn't that be something? Everyone just stood up one day and they're like, "That is enough, sir. We no longer want this rhetoric." No, I've only gotten positive, which that in itself is like really a compliment in itself. You guys have only given us positive compliments about our content, and about our efforts to try to make our content better. And man, all the sigils. So I do not have a fear that the content or the painting or like what we're doing is hogwash or terrible. I think you guys have said loud and clear that you enjoy it and you like it. And honestly, people are just like, you guys have been like super encouraging too, which is awesome. So I really do appreciate that. I really love this model. This model is amazing. The detail is so good. Obviously, I've said this with other models, like the Marvel Crisis Protocol models and some of the other like third-party models that we painted. Obviously, because he's a bigger model, it's like effortless to really paint him. I mean, you do have to push certain things and like remember your technique, but it's definitely easier to paint him because, obviously being a larger model, there's no like even the smallest details are still big areas to paint. So, but there's so many sigils. He has so many different sigils. It's insane. But I really like how we've already started, and it's already got motion, depth to it. We've just barely like started the surface of this, right? Like I haven't really added effects. I haven't added we're doing now is like a little bit of blocking, and I've done like a little bit of shading and shadowing here and there. And the only reason I did that in that order, because normally I would do it a little bit more strategic or stages, is I was just trying to quickly develop the scheme of how we wanted this to look, to make sure that the color choices were going to work. Because like I said, I was trying to find I thought I had I don't remember what that color is called, but I thought they had made a contrast like blackish green. But then it dawned on me that it might be I might be misremembering the waves of them, because they had a second wave, and probably the color that you would have used for him in contrast was probably in the second wave, which makes a total sense. That the newer paints would have the paint for him because he's a newer model, which I got some of them, but I didn't buy all of them. And they also were they did a lot of shaders too, so It might be that you're using maybe the you know, maybe you're using the green that I used, but you're using a different shader, which is going to push it more to black. So now I'm just like going through and getting anything that's I'm using Skeleton Horde. I usually use Skeleton Horde for anything that's like a tassel, a sigil, because like those tend to be dirty, right? Because those are going to be on the battlefield. They're hanging off stuff as you're hitting people. So, you know, I'll take liberties with those and make them a little bit more rugged. So I was just going around and painting those little sigils. Now I'm pretty sure. Oh shoot! All right, so I messed that up. Can I bring that color back to life? Okay. It's very, very light. Okay. So what I just realized by looking at the model, yeah, this is very, very light. Hopefully when I do the null oil on this, I'm going to do more null oil. I can push it a little bit more, but yeah, apparently that was supposed to just be the gray, which kind of sucks. Maybe I can salvage this by mixing a little bit more. Actually, if I just get black and mix it into there, I might actually be able to pull this off. Alright, let's go right here. Yeah, because then it's going to be really, it's going to be a little bit more on the dark side. Perfect. Problem is that it's so watery. And this is my fault. Again, it must all be in the same box, because for me to like not have both of those things is really weird. But there's a thickening agent that they gave with the contrast paints, and I couldn't find either of those, so they're probably in the same box, but that would immensely help my case here. Okay, well, that's a little bit better. It's not great, but it's a little better. Yeah, I didn't realize that holding... I don't know why I thought that knee was gold in color. I mean, that did the job. I'm going to wait till it dries to do it better, but... Alright, there we go. So now you have a little bit more of a... Really, man? You're killing me. You're killing me with the armor. I keep missing stuff. Ah. Alright. I know it's so watery now. Oh, no. It actually worked. Okay. I keep missing parts of the armor because I'm not twisting him the way I'm supposed to. My goal here is just to put some color in the back there, just so I can get it. I could actually do like more of a cell shaded, like doing some black in there too. I mean, he's coming along very well. Okay, oh crap. Now that has to be... God damn it. Alright, I messed this up. No, it's just the sigil on it is supposed to be gold. Great. Alright, so let's do this. Let's take a big wad of black. And let's take some of this. Oh, I shouldn't have done it like that. More black. Alright. This is crazy. Actually, I can use that. That's fine. Okay, let's just move that. Alright, so that's about where we need to be. Color-wise, so I think I color matched it. Alright, let's just see if there's any other areas that I need. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. That's gorgeous. That actually is much better. Alright, so first I'm going to fix all of this. So we can color match this to this. Because right now, I did not color match this the best. But this is actually like much more legitimately getting closer to the color. Because like I said, once we shift it with the null oil, it should appear and give us more of a black tone. Sorry guys, I'm getting wigged out because there's like a lot of weird things moving around, and there was a moment where I heard like a very weird sound. You know when you're like not alone, but because I'm not like the only one in my house right now, but I'm just going back over like some of it just to push the color a little bit more. And this is what always happens to me, which is I start doing this and then I'm like, oh, and then lo and behold, I forget to paint the thing I'm supposed to paint. Alright. So I did all of this because now I want to paint the whole thing because it's so much better and darker. This is what happens. Let's just get it in there. The arm was what I was painting, so I'm just gonna keep saying the arm so my brain remembers. Because that was originally what I came to paint. Because I was like, oh, I didn't paint the arm correctly, and I was like going to do that. Okay, so the thing I was originally trying to paint was this. And for this, I'm just going to do the whole thing in the green. Because I'm gonna paint over it with the gold anyway. Once it dries. And then I know for a fact it was painted correctly. And that was something I started to learn, was like a good way to get your stuff painted correctly when you had stuff like that is just paint the whole thing that base color, because your metals will always go on top of this stuff. So this goes back to like just planning out your model. So if you know that your model color wise is going to have a certain color to it, don't hesitate to paint on top. So like even here, in order to get the seal and like the correct areas painted, just paint a little in and like give yourself a bleed. So when you do your gold, you can just go right on top of it and it will look perfect because you will have filled in the corners. Because that's a thing that I tend to not do sometimes, and that has a mixture of like good and bad qualities to it. All right, so we got that painted. We got that painted. Okay. Oh, we gotta go this way with that. And then that's gonna be the inside. Yep. So that's good. I'm just like looking at every angle now to see, are there areas that I did not paint that I should have, while I have this wonderful color all mixed up, because then I'm going to want to push that a little bit more. Again, MVP brush, this guy right here. It's getting into all those tight little corners, which is like perfect. Okay, let's get this better painted now that I have a nice darker color. So it's not an eyesore when we look at it. That looks great now. Gotta look. Alright, and then we're just gonna put that wonderful darker tone all over this. So we even tone our paint. So that when we throw the null oil on top of it, it'll look proper, it'll look right. So far, I am super pleased with this model and how it is coming out. It looks super fine, super awesome. I mean, again, the sculpt itself is just really, really awesome. And like I said, I'm not a Space Marine guy, but I think I do want to collect all the Primaris. Not Primaris, all of the Primarchs. I want to have all the Primarch Space Marines, because I just love their models. They're so epic and cool, and they look awesome. So I kind of want to display them. I know some people were doing that now that they were starting to make more and more of them. They were going to do like a shelf display for them, which I thought was pretty cool. Or a cool way to display them. But I actually do want to use some of them, so. Because as we move into the next phase, which is like potentially campaign play and some of the other ideas I have for our channel, we're going to definitely start getting into some of that. Okay. All right, now it's starting to look more like what it looks like on there. Now, they have some edge highlighting, which I haven't done yet, but we got, I think, more of a closer tone to what I should have had in the first place, which is good. And then obviously we have to keep doing the gold and the other work, but sure. I get all of that painted. Yeah, there we go. Make sure we get all the little details painted. Because again, I don't want to have to redo this color. I want to have to keep mixing and redoing this color, because I don't want him to look, you know, muddy and everything. I want him to look nice and crisp. I feel like I keep actually, we can just do all this. If I want to do metal on the bottom, which I've done that before, we can. Again, that's just Lead Belcher, and that'll go over this screen. Alright, and like I said, guys, please let us know how we're doing. Consider following the channel, signing up for notifications so you know when we're live, and coming and seeing us on our scheduled days. Because as I always say, your contribution and your comments make all of our shows 10 times better than they really are. Because you guys are always bringing some cool stuff to the table. You're always bringing a cool perspective. And I just love having that dialogue while we paint. And just like some of your thoughts. Some people have had such interesting thoughts about the lore, about, you know, GW and how they're doing things. And, you know, just in general, it's a really good community talk. And I really like it. And I'm happy that a lot of folks have commented that they feel we provide like a chill environment and all that kind of cool stuff. So, all right. Well, the Lions Guard, specifically Lion Johnson, loving this model. It's coming along perfect. We got our color scheme really going. We're starting to get the gold in there. I cannot wait to keep pushing this and going. So this is going to be center stage in our 40K show next week. If I could do some bonus videos, I will, but I'm super, super excited about this. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. Please consider looking and following our channel, signing up for notifications. There is also my website, my Patreon, and my tip/donation button. Monetary support, whether you go to my website, I'm both a commissioned painter and artist, or if you do a donation to show your support, or you check out the Patreon and do that. Right now it's my indie comic Patreon, which has a little bit of stuff on it. I've been bad about updating it, so I do apologize. But I will be launching a new Patreon that's game related, so we can really stay game centric and game focused. And it's going to be really exciting and cool. It's going to be me creating gaming content, which I'm really excited about doing. It's my favorite thing in the world, which is creating characters, NPCs, all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys, as always, and I hope to see you again Mondays, Marvel Crisis Protocol, Tuesdays, AOS and Fantasy, Wednesdays, gaming materials and artwork, which is going to be amazing, and Thursdays, 40K painting. So if you want to see this conclusion, come back and see us on Thursday, because that's when we're going to be painting this rest of this gentleman up. And again, I'm just loving how it's coming out. So look forward to seeing you there, and take care, everybody. And if you can help us get to that affiliation mark and to bolster this channel, I would love it. I would love if I could do this on a more full-time basis for you all. It would be so amazing and conquer a dream of mine. And I just want to bring the love of gaming and hobbying to everybody, and just becoming creative and continuing to bring creativity into the world. All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you very soon.